Hey guys, welcome back to Through the Screen. I'm Emily.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Brittany.
We hope you've been enjoying our episodes so far and liking, commenting, and sharing with your friends. If you missed any of them, head on over to our channel and watch, and if you're not already, be sure to subscribe while you're there. This week we will be discussing puppy mills and what you need to know about this practice that the breeders don't want you to know about. So we hope you'll follow us once again as we join together via Skype to bring you conversations through the screen.
This episode, we will be discussing puppy mills and what we can do to end them. We will also be bringing you updates from Taiji, a heartwarming story about an Ohio animal shelter, reviewing some of our favorite healthy smoothies, and finally giving a quick recap of this week's Dancing with the Stars. First up, puppy mills.
This week's topic is puppy mills, the breeding sites that most people don't know about or don't want to know about. Proclaimed by PETA as a well-kept secret of the pet trade industry. The ASPCA defines a puppy mill as a large-scale commercial dog breeding facility where profit is given priority over the well-being of dogs. So basically these facilities constantly breed dogs and keep them in absolutely horrible conditions and basically sell the puppies to pet shops or auction them online. There are so many horrors to places like this, which we will talk about, but some of the solutions to combat puppy mills are relatively simple, and we will also bring you those as well.
Every year in America, it's estimated that 2.1 million puppies are sold that originated from puppy mills, while 3 million are killed in shelters because there's no room for them and nobody wants them. I think that statistic is really staggering and really, really sad.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, some of the conditions that they're kept in are absolutely horrible. They're overcrowded. The conditions are extremely unsanitary. They don't have adequate veterinary care. They don't have enough food or water or even socialization, which is really important for dogs as well. I mean, the females are bred over and over again with not much recovery time between litters. And they're killed when they're no longer able to produce litters or sold off. And, you know, as we said, these puppies, they're sold to, you know, pet shops or online or at flea markets, and, you know, it's just really sad.
And it's also legal to keep a dog that's for breeding, for them to spend their entire life in one of those wire cages. And the wire cages are not healthy for the dogs at all. They cut their paws and they cut up their legs. So, and just think, I mean, imagine, you know, they literally spend their entire lives in these cages and then they just get killed. So, I mean, it's just a horrible, horrible fate. And we just want to just try and bring to light that maybe a lot more people should look more into adopting and going to local pet shelters and things like that, rather than going to pet stores. I mean, I myself, I never go in pet stores just because it's a pet store and I'm like, I want to buy everything because it's a pet store. Naturally, you want to like save all the animals, but you know, you can't. So realistically, I just stay away from them. And now it breaks my heart even more to think that they're full of just these animals that are, you know, sick. They have these diseases. They were never taken care of properly, and they were just pretty much bred for profit and sold for profit. And it's just really sad to think about.
Not because they're sitting around in their, you know, feces and urine and the smell of ammonia, and it says that some of them, their collars are on so tight or they're on there and they're just growing until they're bedded in their neck. I mean, these puppies are just tortured, and then they're coming to, you know, live with people, and some of them will have behavioral issues or, you know, different things like that. So, you know, why not go save an animal? Why not, you know, go to a shelter? You still get to pick out the animal you want, only these animals need you more than you need them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just really sad to me. Progress is being made because we have, like, pet supply stores around here, and they don't sell, like, pet from puppy mills or anything, they like feature ones that are from local shelters, which I think is really cool. Which is still really hard for me to go in there because I still want to buy all the animals and save them, but it's just a better option. And these animals are probably come from tortured backgrounds, but they're not bred to be tortured.
Yeah. I mean, and then one other thing about puppy mills that I also wanted to mention was that sometimes that they will often breed any two dogs together without, concern for the genetic quality. And so a lot of puppies can suffer from like congenital and hereditary conditions like heart disease. And the ASPCA estimates that there could be as many as 10,000 puppy mills in the United States, which is just staggering. And another interesting thing that I think of is that this is also what's happening in factory farming. It's a lot of the same conditions, but this is something that a lot more people pay attention to and, have their hearts break about. But I mean, in reality, we should care about all kinds of animals because, they're basically the same. They're a living being and they should all be treated that way. But, these are just absolutely horrible, and we also remind you to adopt, don't shop, and, just make sure you know where the puppies are coming from. Don't go to pet stores. Don't buy them online on Craigslist or things like that. Adopt them from a shelter. There's so many animals waiting to be adopted, and, they don't deserve a fate like this.
And you're saving a life. You're not just, saving the life of possible puppy mill puppies, but you're saving a life of a dog that could be killed, or a cat, but a dog that could be killed if you don't go adopt it because the shelters are overcrowded and they can't feed them, so they euthanize them.
There is no legal definition for a puppy mill, so don't be fooled by store pet owners who are willing to offer you so-called papers or licenses to state that their dog is not from a puppy mill because, like I'm stating, there's no such thing that exists. There's no papers, there's no, licenses, so I'm sorry if you're falling into this trap, but again, we're trying to promote this information so that we can potentially save a dog or a cat's life who is in a shelter right now that may need somebody rather than a dog who's in a puppy mill. As sad as that is, I mean, like I'm sure most of us know, I'm sure most of these puppy mill dogs, either they end up euthanized too or in shelters as well. So, again, just try and adopt and help save a puppy's life that might otherwise be euthanized.
Right, because like we say with everything, it's greed that's running it. So if people are not buying these puppies, then these puppy mills are not going to exist. So we have to, please go adopt. There's over 3 million that are killed in shelters every year. So there's plenty to choose from.
Yeah, it's supply and demand. It really is. I mean, you have to take away the demand for it, and they'll take away the supply. But as we will talk about later, our heartwarming story that we bring you is obviously the exception to the rule. All of these animals, being cleared out of the animal shelter, but this doesn't normally happen. And ultimately, there's no reason for these inhumane puppy mills with millions of unwanted dogs and cats dying in shelters every year. There's just not. So the ASPCA has a donation page, which we will link down below, to help stop puppy mills. We also encourage you, as always, as we mentioned before, to adopt rather than buy from a pet store or a breeder. And also spay and neuter your animals to keep down the number of animals in shelters.
This week in Taiji has been a difficult one. We only had 3 Blue Cove days, while the rest were days of horror. On November 14th, a pod of 12 to 15 Russo dolphins were driven into the cove after an estimated 6-hour hunt. They were left in the cove overnight and slaughtered the next morning on boats as boats went out in search of more dolphins. On November 15th, about 10 Russo dolphins were driven into the cove. 2 were taken captive, while the remainder of the pod was driven back to sea without the rest of their family. The 2 that were taken captive were held for 2 days in the cove, then transported on the 17th with no food. On November 18th, an estimated 40 to 45 pilot whales from 2 separate pods were driven into the cove. They were left overnight, and just yesterday, one whale was taken captive while the remaining whales were slaughtered in shifts. This week demonstrates the worst in Taiji. We suggest, as always, that you check out the live streams linked below, as well as the links to donate to Sea Shepherd's campaign and to write letters to your local Congress.
We also wanted to, on a significantly more happy note, bring you an incredible story of a toy company that decided to use its powerful advertising to support the release of orcas from SeaWorld. The infant and toddler toy company Munchkin released an emotional commercial, which we will of course link down below, expressing that orcas belong in the ocean, and because of this they are recalling their orca bath toys to support the cause. They felt that selling an orca bath toy was a metaphor for SeaWorld's orcas living in the equivalent of a bathtub, and therefore they got rid of all of these toys and also partnered with the whale and dolphin conservation. The commercial is absolutely beautiful. It has facts about whales in captivity and whales in the wild, and it brought tears to my eyes because it's just the story of a little boy that releases his bath toy into the ocean. And it's amazing to see this giant toy company, Munchkin, supporting the cause. But it doesn't stop there. CEO Stephen Dunn also sent a letter to SeaWorld offering $1 million to fund an ocean sanctuary and encourage the release of captive orcas. We have no idea whether they would accept it. It's very doubtful. But it's just an amazing story, and we thought it was definitely worth sharing this week.
This week's heartwarming story comes to you from Akron, Ohio. On November 7th, the Summit County Animal Control had 0 pets up for adoption because every single animal that was in their facility had been adopted who was ready for it, which is an amazing feat. It's something that we hope for all animal shelters all over. A lot of them are dealing with overcrowded animals, having more than one animal in a room. So this is a great news, and it's a great hope so congratulations to them, and I hope that it kind of spreads all over the United States.
So for our product of the week this week, we wanted to do something a little bit different. So each of us will be reviewing our favorite smoothie, just to give you guys more options to make healthy choices. So mine's actually more of a shake than a smoothie because it uses milk. So basically you just take a handful or a few leaves of kale, a whole banana, a cup or however much you want to add of coconut, almond, or other non-dairy milk, and a dash of cinnamon. And so you just blend it up, and you can add more milk if you want to make it thinner, or less to make it thicker. And it's really good. Obviously kale is really bitter, and so the banana and the cinnamon, that's all you really taste. It helps to add a lot of sweetness to it. And so I really like this, and it's something that I've tried before. But yeah, I really like this and I recommend it. So what did you guys try?
Okay, so I drink smoothies a lot, so it was hard for me to kind of pick which one I was going to use, but I decided to go with a protein one since no one else is doing a protein one. But what I used for mine was ice, kale, half of a banana, frozen strawberries, and frozen pomegranates, and then almond milk to, make it more smoothie-like, and a scoop of GNC brand vegan vanilla powder, protein powder, and it's really good, and the pomegranates give it a really good tang to it, which I really like. This is actually the first time I ever used pomegranates in a smoothie, so I was kind of excited to try something different, and pomegranates are in season right now, so it's a good one. You can use them fresh or frozen. I use frozen everything and ice because I really like the texture of it like that, but if you don't, you really could take the ice out or use all fresh fruit or whatever, but just make sure, like Emily said, make sure if you're using kale, you put a banana in it, because otherwise you're going to taste the bitter kale and it's not going to be as good, but the banana takes the bitter right out of it, so you could really use whatever fruits and combinations you want, but if you use kale, make sure you use a banana.
And mine was pretty basic. It was very similar to Brittany's, just minus the kale and the extra pomegranate and all that stuff. It was just basically ice, a little bit of almond milk, fresh strawberries, and a whole banana. And that was basically it. And it tasted pretty good. I mean, I'm not big on smoothies, but I would definitely eat this again. I mean, drink this again, whatever you want to say. I would definitely have it again, maybe is the best way to say it.
Now, and it's just like a good, like either a breakfast or a snack, even a meal replacement when you don't, depending on which one you pick, when you don't have time to eat a big meal. So smoothies are definitely a good alternative to anything, and easily vegan, easily.
Yeah. So if you want to try any of these, we will put the ingredients down below. And let us know if there's anything else that you want us to try or veganize, and we'll help you out with that. So let us know.
This week on Dancing with the Stars, we had a jam-packed episode. First, we had their regular routines, followed by a true dance-off, and finally the trio dance. The show officially announced that Tamar would not be returning this week, and many who had hoped to see Alexa take her place found out that she in fact wasn't coming back either. Instead, the show decided to play up the drama, putting Bindi and Derek and Nick and Sharna in the bottom two before announcing no elimination would take place, which makes this year's semifinals one of the worst episodes of Dancing with the Stars I have ever seen. But we judged the dances, so what did we think, starting with Bindi and Derek's salsa?
I actually really like the salsa, which, I mean, I know that I am notorious for being super hard on Bindi, but I really loved it, and I was just shocked that the judges didn't. And it's funny because normally when I think her dances are not great, and when she messes up, they're like, oh, 10! And then they're like, I think she got all 9s. I'm like, are you kidding me? But I thought it was great. I love the outfit. I love the dance. I loved everything about it. I think that I don't think it has to be dirty to be salsa. So.
Well, she's young too.
Right.
And I think they forget that maybe. I don't know.
I think when they say dirty, they mean hip action. Like, there needs to be hip action in
like
salsa.
Grounded.
It is salsa. Yeah. So I think that maybe that's what they mean. But for me, this dance was too overdone. Once again, it went back to that overdone quality of that I don't like about her dances. That was my only critique. I mean, I really liked the dance. It was just a little overdone for me.
That's weird. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't. Well, I mean, they didn't have like all the other dancers, but I mean, it was kind of a big performance. Didn't they have confetti or something coming down and all that? I don't know. But I mean, I love the dance. I think they did a really good job, and I'm mad of the difference between Bindi's score and Alex's score, but we're going to get to that. But yeah, I think they did a really good job.
So next is Alec and Lindsay's waltz.
I thought it was terrible. And seriously, this was another dance while he was walking around, while she was floating around like some angel or whatever she's trying to do. The idea of the dance, I loved. I loved it. I loved her outfit. I loved what they were doing. I loved everything about it, but he was not dancing, and it was not a 10. And the fact that he got a 10, all 10s for that dance, and Bindi didn't get all 10s for hers, and even the other dances, I was just like I was just trying not to throw things at the TV.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the first time I watched it, I didn't like it that much, but I watched it a second time. I'm like, okay, I mean, I can see improvement in him. I can see that he is improving.
Right.
But
it's not like judging 10? On the improvement. Yeah. You can't judge him at a different level than you're judging everyone else just because he was worse in the beginning. That makes no sense. You have to judge him on the same standards, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think part of it was his package too.
Exactly.
I think that got them emotional.
So grateful for him, and
right.
I love the American theme of his whole thing, but not a 10.
For me, I just felt like Lindsay's kind of tried to step up the choreography a little bit more in this dance. Like, she took the judges' notes on the choreography a little bit this week. Not that he did it very well, but she did kind of try and step it up a little bit. But again, he didn't just. I really was hoping he was going to get eliminated. To be honest with you guys, 'cause I just don't feel like he belongs in the finale. But I have a feeling that he's not going to be around next Tuesday night. I think he will be the one that goes home on Monday night instead of Tuesday. So we'll see, but I don't know. So next was Carlos and Whitney's contemporary dance. So how did we feel about that one?
I loved it. I wanted to throw stuff at Carrie Ann because I thought that she was being absolutely ridiculous all night. This is the semifinals, and I feel like with everyone, I mean, even Bindi, I feel like you needed to bring the production factor. I mean, this is what with the exception of Alec, this is where all the dancers are really good, and you're trying to stick out from the crowd, and he took a huge risk doing that crazy rope thing because that could have ended disastrously. I am really annoyed that they feel like they need to take his shirt off all the time because that, to me, that really is getting on my nerves. But I love the dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I really liked it too. I was really nervous watching it. I was like, oh my gosh, please don't fall, because that takes a lot of strength. Like, in gym when they do that rope climbing thing and nobody can ever do it, like it takes a lot of strength. So, I mean, I think he did really well, and I mean, I think him and Bindi both deserved higher scores than Alec, but I don't know.
See, for me, I agree with Carrie Ann. I didn't like this dance. I really didn't. I did not feel the story, especially when I compared it to Alexa's contemporary dance last week. I just did not feel his passion the way I felt hers. I just didn't feel the story connection, and I could have did without the rope. For me, honestly, he didn't need to do that. I would have rather have seen that time taken up with choreography dancing on the floor rather than him spinning in the air, personally. That's just my own opinion, though, so. Next is Nick and Sharna's tango. How did we feel about that?
I really liked it. I think he did a really good job. What score did he get on that one?
He got a 24.
Did he?
Yeah, because he messed up.
That's right.
She had to reassure him.
Yeah.
Which broke my heart. But it was like their chemistry is just so like, I don't know.
Yeah. This might have been when she was reassuring him, but there was a part in the middle where they literally just stopped and they were singing to each other. I didn't like that part because it was really broken.
That's when they were reassuring.
Okay. Yeah. All except for that part, I think he did really well besides the slip up, and I know he was beating himself up a lot about it afterwards, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but I don't know, I still love them, but it was unfortunate. It was good, and he persevered and got through it, but...
Yeah, for me, I really, that part aside, I mean, it was a 10 performance. I mean, besides that one little part in the middle where... And honestly, that part right there kind of showed America that they do care about, each other, and they, feed off of each other, because, I mean, any other person would have just said, okay, I messed up, I'm done. Let's, just go get our scores and take the zeros or whatever, the fives or whatever we get, and that'll be the end of it. But, I mean, he definitely persevered, and when he persevered well. So, I mean...
Right.
I really commended him to keep going on, not give up.
Mm.
Next was the dance-off. For me, this was like a real, true dance-off, side-by-side comparison, where it's supposed to last week it really wasn't, but this was it for me. So first we had Alexa and Lindsay versus Carlos and Whitney, and they did a cha-cha. So winner was Carlos and Whitney, so they got the extra 3 points, which gave them a 31 for the total so far in the night. So how do we feel about that?
Well, I'm pretty sure Carrie Ann voted for Alec to win.
Yeah.
And at this point, I was like, this chick is drunk. Like,
I think she's like the Paula of Dancing with the Stars. She's always the one that's nicer. Like, she gives the higher score. She gives it to the underdog. I feel like she's that person on the panel. That she's the nice one.
Oh, my gosh. I was so annoyed with her. I was ready to, like, kick her off the show. Like, that to me was hands down Carlos and Whitney. Hands down. There was, like, no question. Like, it was Carlos and Whitney. And then she's like, Alec? Like, no. No.
Yeah, it was clear. I mean,
Yeah.
they had like a routine compared, and like I don't know. I don't even know why that was even a question. It was clear it was Carlos and Whitney.
Yeah. I agree.
So next we had Bindi and Derek versus Nick and Sharna, and they did the samba, and the winner was Bindi and Derek. So they got the 3 points added onto their score, which gave them a 30. So
This one kind of broke my heart because I feel like that Bindi did really well, and I thought their dance was really good, but I also thought Nick's dance was really good too, and I feel like they were like, oh, hands down Bindi, like even when they were talking, like you could see it in Nick's face. He was like, dang it, I really needed those points, and they already gave them away. So I was really upset that there wasn't even like a question about it, but I really thought they were really evenly matched.
they were. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was difficult because, unlike with Alec and Carlos, Nick and Bindi are a little bit more evenly matched. And so it was difficult, but I agree. I felt so bad for Nick because you could just see it on his face that he felt so bad about, his first round, and he really wanted those points. I mean, that for me was a toss-up. I wasn't completely heartbroken about anything, but I do feel bad for Nick with that one.
Okay, so after that round, we went into the trio dances. Excuse me. And first up, we had Bindi, Derek, and Mark, and they did a jazz. They got a perfect score of 30, which gave Bindi and Derek a 60 for the night. So how did we feel about that dance?
Which I think everyone will be surprised, but I loved it. First of all, I love the trio dances as a whole, but I loved this dance. I thought it was just awesome. I loved everything about it. I really did. I loved that they used the crazy box thing. I really loved it.
Mm.
My only problem with this dance that I did not like was the light.
Me too.
I just felt like that
The beginning of it was the worst, I thought.
For me, it was the middle when she was like whipping it around her neck and everything like that. I was like, this is not Indiana Jones. We do not need this light thing.
Charlotte doesn't like ropes.
When they played back in slow-mo, she tried to catch it and it actually whipped around and hit her in the face.
I saw that.
And they were playing that as like the best part of the dance. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Like after she likes to see that over and over.
I know, really.
Like her feet on
Like
the
her
screen.
feet.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I loved the little thing that they did at the beginning.
And I was waiting for her to mess up because she always messes up at the synchronized stuff like that, and they did not miss a beat. I was really impressed. I loved it. It deserved the perfect score, I thought.
Yeah, and she was really brave too to stand on the edges of that box like that. Like, oh my gosh. But yeah, I loved it too.
So next we had Alec, Lindsay, and Emma, and they did an Argentine tango, and he got a 27 for that dance, which gave him a 57 for the night.
Okay, this was what was hilarious. So I loved this dance, and I thought it was awesome compared. It was like night and day from the first one. I thought it actually finally had real choreography, him really doing something other than just Lindsay doing it all. And then they don't even give him a perfect score. I loved it. I loved every second of it. I thought it was awesome. I thought he did a really good job. And obviously, I mean, there's something going on there, but I loved it.
For me, there just wasn't enough footwork in it. That's my only issue.
Well, I guess I just don't expect that from him.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with Charlotte.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
That was my issue. Alright, so next we had Carlos and Whitney, and they picked Karina, and they did a Charleston, and they got a 29, and that gave Carlos and Whitney a 60 for the night.
I really liked this one. I liked a lot of the movements and everything. I like a lot of like old-timey kind of dances, and so I really liked it. And at first I thought that I was like, Whitney, didn't you do this with Alfonso? But that was the Carlton. So I got confused about that. But yeah, it was, I mean, for neither of them having done that dance before, I think it was really good. I mean, I don't think that the judges didn't like it as much as I did, but
well, I mean, he got a 29, so he did.
Yeah.
They liked it. They liked it a good amount. But.
Yeah, well, they liked it less than Alex's first dance, so mind blowing. Yeah, I loved it too. I thought it was awesome. I don't know. I really love the trio dances, so I loved it.
I really just like the Charleston.
Me
I
too.
mean,
Yeah, me too.
one of those kind of like jazzy dances that is just very in that time period. So it's always something that
And
I
his
enjoy
faces,
watching.
though, he did such a good job. Like his faces were all like
Mm.
into it. I just loved it. It was so good.
Yeah.
And finally for the night, we had Nick Sharna, and they chose Peta, and they did a salsa, and he got a perfect score of 30, and which gave him a 54 for the night.
No surprise, I loved it. I think Nick really redeemed himself. I think that he, like, when in his first dance, he was messed up because they just played his package and talked about his sister dying, and I think he still feels guilt for that, whether or not he, has really dealt with that or not. I think that kind of played into how his dance went, but they did perfect at the end of the night, and I'm super happy for him, and I'm really hoping that he wins on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I was like the package was so sad for me. I felt my heart broke for him, and I think that he really needed those scores to bring him back up and to kind of redeem himself. But I think it was powerful, and I think it was a really good dance, so I liked it.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked this dance too. It was very upbeat and just jam packed. He didn't miss a beat, and I enjoyed it. So. Well, so we've come to the end of Dancing with the Stars. Next week is the finale. So we will, of course, be here next week with judging the regular routines, the judges pick, and, of course, the freestyle dances. They usually determine who takes home the Mirrorball trophy, and we are so excited to find out who wins. A little sad that this season's over, but, again, excited to find out who wins, and just be here next week to find out who won and how we feel about it.
This week's Song of the Week is by Rachel Platten. She was born May 20th of 1981 in Massachusetts. She is best known for her song, Fight Song. We are featuring a song from her EP named The Fight Song, but this song is called Beating Me Up. So what do we think?
Well, I discovered the song like a month or two ago, and I just really fell in love with it, so I downloaded it, and it's been on my playlist ever since, because I make like playlists for the seasons, so it was on my fall playlist, so that's how I know it wasn't like a new song that I just found. But again, yeah, I really like it. It's empowering, and it's just a reminder that sometimes our hearts like beat us up, and we kind of like let it, and we don't realize what's going on until later on when we look back at the situation. So I really related to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. As soon as I heard it, I was getting into it because I was listening to it while I was in class, while I was doing my work, and I felt like I could really, do my work to it, and I was just sitting there like, I really love it. I love the tempo. It actually, weirdly enough, it reminds me of an Allie and AJ song, which is like super old school, but yeah, I love it. I love the message. This is definitely my favorite song that I've heard by her so far. But yeah, I definitely recommend it for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's my favorite song I've heard by her, and I immediately kind of fell in love with it because we were talking about doing different songs by her, and I was like, yes, like, I don't know. It's just one that because a lot of times with songs, like, I have to listen to it a few times before I can really get into it, but this one was kind of instant, and I love the tempo, so we think you'll love it too, and we're going to link down below to where you can download that song and the whole EP on iTunes, and let us know what you think.
Okay, guys, that's our show. We hope you enjoyed this installment of Through the Screen. If you did, be sure to like down below and subscribe to the channel. We also appreciate any feedback you may have. We post new videos every week, and we'd love for you all to join us and tell your friends. Next week, we will be doing a special Thanksgiving episode where we let you all know what we are thankful for. So you won't want to miss it. Until then, thanks for watching, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.